Okay, so get this. Picture this pigeons, right? Those birds, they can recognize your face. Monkeys, they can barter, like actually make deals for snacks. And crows. Crows are using traffic, cars, and stuff to crack nuts.
It's wild.
It's like they're evolving in real time right in front of us. We always talk about animal intelligence, but this is next level stuff. We've got a bunch of research articles about this, and it seems like cities, with all their chaos, they're like these unexpected testing grounds for evolution.
Yeah, it's like evolution in overdrive.
Mm.
Human activity, it's actually a driving force in how some animals are changing, especially in urban areas.
It's like we've become this like accidental evolutionary force, and it's not just making them better at surviving in the city, it's like their intelligence is actually evolving.
Yeah, and that's the really fascinating part. It's not that they're becoming, more human in their thinking. It's that they're developing these specific types of intelligence, these skills that are tailored to the challenges that humans and cities throw at them.
So it's less about them becoming little versions of us and more about them becoming masters of their concrete jungles.
Exactly. Think about crows, for instance. They've been seen using cars as nutcrackers.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. Like, they'll drop a nut on the road, a car runs it over, boom, easy snack.
Right, but it's not just instinct. They're actually showing that they get cause and effect. Car equals open nut. They're basically like using tools, simple machines, to get their food. That's a level of problem solving we usually only see in like primates or something.
It's like they're using, what, engineering to get a snack? That's crazy.
It is. But, we adapt to our environments all the time too.
True, true. Maybe not cracking nuts with cars, but we're always figuring out new ways to do things, using technology, solving problems. It's just usually for, slightly different reasons.
Right, exactly. Now, crows are just one example. Think about all the other challenges cities throw at animals. And the ones that adapt, well, they're the ones that make it.
Yeah, like raccoons, those little masked bandits. They always seem to be one step ahead when it comes to getting into the trash.
Oh, raccoons are incredibly resourceful. They've figured out latches, mazes. They can even remember how to solve puzzles. There was this one study with a puzzle box.
Was it full of snacks? Had to be snacks.
Of course, snacks. And the raccoons, they were able to open this box in like multiple ways. So they weren't just memorizing steps. They were actually figuring out how the box worked.
Okay, that's both impressive and a little scary. Makes you wonder what else they're capable of.
It really does.
Yeah.
But it just shows how adaptable they are. And that's key to surviving in a city, which is constantly changing.
And speaking of amazing city survivors, we got to talk about pigeons. They get a bad rap, but they're way smarter than people give them credit for.
Oh, for sure. Their facial recognition abilities are incredible. Studies have shown that pigeons, they can tell the difference between human faces, and they remember them, even after a long time.
Which, let's be honest, is more than some of us can say sometimes.
It's true. They're living in this complex social world, the city, and knowing who's who, who's friendly, who might have food, that's important for their survival.
So they're constantly updating their mental maps, and that includes us, the humans.
Exactly. And it's not just about, like, individual intelligence either. Some species, they're adapting through social learning, which is super interesting.
Okay, so social learning in animals, what's that all about? Okay, so social learning in animals, what's that all about?
So social learning, it's basically like animals learning from each other. They pick up these behaviors, these strategies, things they might not figure out on their own. Kind of like how we learn from our families, our friends, even just watching other people, except, no YouTube tutorials for them.
So instead of scrolling through life hacks, they're like watching each other. That's wild. What are they learning this way?
Well, let's go back to those macaque monkeys, the ones who are like expert snack thieves. They're not just figuring this out solo. They're actually teaching each other how to do it.
Wait, so like they have little monkey schools for petty theft?
Pretty much. The young macaques, they watch the older, more experienced ones, and they learn which snacks are the best, how to avoid getting caught, even how to trade for something better.
Hold on, trade? You mean like these monkeys are making deals?
Yeah. They've figured out that instead of just grabbing whatever they can often trade it for something even tastier. That's a pretty advanced social understanding.
Wow. So it's not just about knowing how stuff works, it's about understanding social situations.
Exactly. It's like they're playing this whole other game on top of just trying to survive. And this whole, like, cultural transmission thing, this passing down knowledge, it can actually make evolution go faster because they're not just waiting for, like, random genetic mutations to happen. They're actively shaping how they evolve by learning from each other.
So the more they learn, the faster they adapt. That's insane. What other, like, social strategies are they developing out there that we haven't even noticed?
Oh, I think we're just scratching the surface. For example, there's some research that birds in cities are changing their songs so they can be heard over traffic noise. That's a type of cultural transition too.
Like they're evolving their own urban dialects.
Exactly. And it just shows how intertwined we are with nature, even in cities. What we do affects their behavior, even how they evolve, in ways we're just starting to understand.
It's a lot to process.
But as
But it's not just about intelligence, right? Animals are adapting to us in other ways too, like their behavior.
Absolutely. Being flexible in their behavior is huge for adapting to cities. It's not always about being the smartest, but about being the most adaptable to change.
Yeah, like those squirrels in the park that barely flinch when people walk by. Out in the woods, they'd be gone.
Exactly. They've learned that being afraid all the time in a city doesn't work. It wastes energy and stops them from getting food. So they've adapted, become less afraid of people, which, when you think about it, is pretty smart.
It's like they've weighed the risks and rewards and decided, hey, these humans are more predictable than a hawk. It's like they've done their own cost-benefit analysis and decided, you know what, hanging out with these humans isn't so bad after all.
Exactly. And it's not just squirrels. Think about elephants, right?
Yeah.
We usually picture them in wide open spaces, but they're adapting to humans too, sometimes in ways that cause, well, conflict.
Right, like the stories about elephants raiding crops and stuff.
Exactly. Elephants are incredibly intelligent, and they've learned to adapt, to change their raiding behavior based on human schedules. They often do it at night to avoid being caught.
It just goes to show how adaptable they are. But it also highlights how tricky it is for us to coexist with wildlife, especially as humans take up more and more space.
Absolutely. Finding that balance is going to be key. And then there are examples like sharks learning to follow fishing boats for an easy meal.
Talk about a risky strategy. But I guess for them it's a numbers game too.
Exactly. It just shows how opportunistic they are. They're always watching, adapting to patterns in their environment, even patterns we create.
It's amazing what we can learn from all these adaptations, isn't it? Really makes you rethink how we see the animal world.
It really does. We tend to underestimate how smart and adaptable other species are. But when we look closer, we see they're not so different from us in their ability to learn, solve problems, even shape their own evolution.
It's kind of humbling, you know? We like to think of ourselves as separate from nature, but we're really not. We're connected, and what we do has these ripple effects, and we're just starting to understand it all.
The powerful thing to realize. And by understanding those connections, by seeing how these animals are adapting to us, maybe we can create a future where both humans and wildlife can, really thrive.
So next time you see a pigeon on the street, maybe don't just shoo it away, right? Take a second. Think about how resilient they are, how smart, how far they've come to adapt to our world.
Who knows? That pigeon might be a few generations away from figuring out how to hack those vending machines.
There you go. Something to think about. Well, on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the possibilities. Until next time, stay curious and remember, the natural world is full of surprises if you know where to look.